Hi again, I'm Neil Redfern and welcome to another short video where I talk you through how I took one of my favourite photographs. Today I'm going to be talking you through a few images, all taken at a recent portrait shoot in the Peak District in the UK with my friend Marc and amazing model Bethany Cammack. It was one of my resolutions to myself this year that I shoot more personal projects, and that was the reason I arranged this shoot, which was just for fun really. I'd found this location on my way to a meeting last year and I'd always had it in my mind that I wanted to come back and do a shoot here. I always recommend to photographers who come on my workshops that they organise fun shoots like this for themselves. They're a great way to practice and try new things with absolutely no pressure. Unfortunately, on the night of the shoot we didn't have the best weather. I was really hoping for a killer sunset, but that didn't happen. But we still had fun and got some nice images. I'm sure I'll be back in the future though, as I really want to take the shot which exists in my head, so watch this space. Before I talk you through the shots though and how I took them, here's a little behind the scenes film of what we got up to on the shoot. Before talking you through the main image, I want to show a couple of other before and afters from the shoot. These two photographs were both taken with a single off-camera speed light, kindly being held for me by my friend Marc. Due to the area behind Marc being sky, I knew that it would be easy to clone him out afterwards in Photoshop. To help me do this, once I had taken a shot which I was happy with, I then asked Marc to take a few steps back so I could take a photo of the sky where he was stood. This made cloning that area back in even easier. The only other major change I had to make to these raw files in post was to the white balance. Although I always shoot in a warm manual white balance around 7000 Kelvin, for these images I decided to really cool down the white balance of the sky areas to make the sky look extra dramatic. But this is the photograph I want to talk you through in more detail. This was taken on my 35mm lens with two speed lights off camera. As I triggered the speed lights my Photic Strato triggers, I wasn't able to use high speed sync. As with most off-camera flash photographs taken outdoors, the trick to creating a dramatic looking photograph is to underexpose the natural or ambient light, whilst using the flash to light the subject, in this case my model Beth. Not having access to high speed sync meant that I wasn't able to shoot at a shutter speed faster than 1/250th of a second. So to ensure I underexpose the natural light, I shot this image at 100 ISO. My aperture was at f5 as I wanted to keep the background of the image fairly sharp. I positioned my first speed light to the left of the frame, facing Beth. This was to front light her and was set to half power to ensure it could overpower the ambient light. I also put a magmod CTO gel on this flash to warm up the light coming from this speed light. The second speed light was positioned behind Beth and set to 1/16 power. This was there to slightly backlight Beth, which would just help to separate her from the background and also ensure that the veil was highlighted more. As you can see in the raw file, this exposure is fairly good and got me where I wanted to be before taking the image into Lightroom. A couple of things to note about the raw file. You'll see that there are actually two speed lights facing Beth on the left hand side, but only one of those is mine. The other is my friend Marc's, who was doing the shoot with me, so please just ignore that one. Also, although the speed light is in the shot, I knew that I could easily clone it out afterwards in Photoshop. Had I moved the speed light further back and out of the composition, it may have struggled to light Beth, so I had to leave it there deliberately. Once in Lightroom, I start by applying my preset. After that I change the white balance. In this case I cool down the image slightly. After that I tend to make the bigger changes first. So, in this example, I use a graduated filter to bring down the exposure of the sky. It was vital when I was taking the shot in camera that I didn't blow out any of the highlights, as this would mean that I wouldn't be able to bring back the sky as I am doing here. I then used another graduated filter to increase the exposure on the bottom half of the image, to bring back some of the detail in the background. As I wanted to make it look as though the sun was lighting Beth up, I then used a radial tool to increase the exposure slightly of the grass which Beth was stood on. I then used another graduated filter to darken the bottom of the image slightly. I'm not always a fan of vignettes, but on certain images, such as this one, a subtle vignette can work well. So I use a vignette tool here just to bring down the exposure of the edges of the frame. Finally, to exaggerate the effect of the sun coming through the clouds, I used the radial filter to draw a circle around the area of the sun and then warm up the white balance slightly of that area. It's a subtle difference, but I think it's a good one. After that, I just made some very minor changes to the overall look of the image before it was time to take the image into Photoshop. There wasn't really too much left to do in Photoshop. The main thing was obviously to clone out the two light stands, camera bag and tripod from the foreground of the image. I did this by using a combination of content aware fill and the clone stamp tool. Due to the nature of the areas which I was cloning out, Photoshop did this very well for me. Photoshop can sometimes struggle, but with areas such as grass, trees and sky, it will generally do a good job. I also made Beth's veil appear to be much longer than it was in reality by selecting an area of the veil, then copying and pasting to make that area a new layer which I could then stretch out. Once I had done this and flattened the image, I used the history brush tool to clean up the area around the veil. Finally, I just did a little bit of dodge and burning to really finish off the image. And so here it is, the final image. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. A massive thank you to both Marc for helping me out on the shoot and providing me with lots of the behind the scenes video, and also to Beth for being our amazing model. If you have any questions, please do ask me in the comments below. I always try and make time to reply to each and every comment which I receive. And if you've enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate if you could please like the video and subscribe to make sure you're notified whenever I upload more in the future. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time.